Now, what campaigners who are opposed to Tavistock infer from the Cass review is that it was taking a large number of kids who probably had a wide variety of problems that would have gone from autism to depression to confusion to being a sexuality that they were frightened of and didn't know how to process. They took a wide number of kids, and they may, allegedly, have encouraged them down one particular pathway to affirm the current cultural thing of saying, if you feel uncomfortable with your body, perhaps you need to change your body. So you need to step back from all of that and say, okay, I'm not dismissing gender dysphoria. I'm not dismissing the possibility that you're in the wrong body, but I want to explore a wide range of other options for what could be wrong with you. If you don't do that and you follow this terrible medical jargon, but you follow this pathway towards gender transition, it's possible that you could end up doing something that causes long-term, irreversible harm that will also harm the mental health of that vulnerable young person. So I would just say this is not about limiting choices for young people. It's not about not listening to them. It's the very opposite of that. It's about expanding their choices, listening to them, and helping them, again, another horrible medical word, in a holistic manner by addressing everything that could be wrong with them, situational, mental, physical, and not just one thing.
Tim Stanley, hold that thought for a second. I've got Ella Whelan here in the studio with me. Ella.
Yeah, Tim raises a really important point, which is the sort of longevity of the way in which we've talked about kids and adults, and the problem with, that it hasn't just fallen from the sky. This, quite shocking trend, particularly among young people, particularly among young girls, of wanting to change, the very fundamental fact of who they are and what sex they are. There was a really interesting insight into this, where the Stonewall got into trouble last week for tweeting about the fact that there was that children as young as 2 could transition and understand the language of gender ideology. They got in trouble with that on Twitter, and then they released a clarifying statement. And actually, within that clarifying statement, they said, yes, OK, maybe we were wrong on that, and we don't do work in nursery education. But actually, we believe that children should be free to learn and experience the world and explore the world, free from adults imposing their views upon them. But that is fundamentally misunderstood. I mean, the kids are in nursery, they're having adult views imposed upon them. But it's actually a really dangerous misunderstanding about child development and the difference between children and adults. I think this is something that Tim's really hit upon, which is that we've completely broken down the boundary between adults who know things and children who don't yet know things. And the safety implications there, if you break down that boundary, are really frightening, because what you end up having is kids not believing that their parents have their best, the best at heart for them. I mean, there are a very few parents who probably are unable to cope with their kids' gender dysphoria. It's actually an interesting fact that the Tavistock used to use the language of gender dysphoria, now it uses the language of gender development, which in itself is a political shift. But the vast majority of parents, as Tim say, want to have all choices option, and at the end of the day want to have a happy kid. If a child doesn't believe that their parents know best, that leads to some very dark outcomes.